But at the same time, too, with the Giants being impressive and, okay, hopefully this is kind of a landmark moment where they can find their way here. The Bills they're all over the place. Holy crap, are they all over the place? I mean, look like crap week 1, look like the best team in football for 3 weeks after that. Then we're really dominated by the Jacksonville Jaguars last week with just some late game stats that really didn't mean anything. And then last night, once again, the offense not finding ways. And Mike, I kind of broke this down on my podcast last week, but the one thing I think we saw again here, and we know the Giants' D is a pain in the butt, right? We kind of talk about it every week. They're way better than their statistical ranking. Their offense stinks. They're put in a lot of tough spots. But you go back in every game, that Giants' D has been a handful for whoever they play. Wink blitzes so much that you have to worry about all these blitzes that, okay, on a day like last night, he didn't over-blitz, but he looked like he was going to blitz, and then they drop out. But you have to worry about picking it up, and you're doing all these different things worried about that. So he uses one of his strengths to benefit him later down the road. But the big thing is the Bills' offense we're seeing is not a high-functioning machine unless Josh Allen can make big plays. That to me is the big thing that has jumped out between the 2 losses and last night. If you can keep him in the pocket like the Giants did, like Jacksonville did, where they don't run by him and give him lanes to run everywhere and scramble and make all these great plays, and then you can play a little bit, hey, we're not going to give the big play to Stephon Diggs down the field, teams look like they're going, okay, we're comfortable playing that way. As long as he doesn't make these magic plays, we feel like we could stop the rest of it. And here's 2 weeks in a row where that Bills offense looked very, very ordinary.
Except for those periodic moments where Josh Allen, like the touchdown pass.
The touchdown pass at the end of the game was insane.
My God.
But that was like one of the few magic moments he had the whole game, right? And no like 50-yard lasers down the field or anything like that. So that to me was the big thing. But yeah, it's hard that was work. A 17-play, 90-yard drive for the first touchdown to go up 7-6. And then this play, I mean, this is insane.
That easily could have been the kind of interception he got criticized for last year in the red zone, throwing the ball up to the other team. That was close to being picked off. That was a thing of beauty, though.
This was beautiful. And we can, after this is over, play it all over again one more time, if you don't mind. He threw this ball before the guy even saw the ball. But look at how they rushed him. See how they never went past him? They keep him there, okay? And it's like Barry Sanders or Randy Moss. You can only contain him for so long, right? He's going to make a play. But he throws this ball, and Morris is on the outside of the defender, and he felt like, hey, he's going to come inside out the back door of this defender, and I'm just going to throw it there, even though he hasn't made a move to cut there yet. And that was just a phenomenal football play on a night where, yeah, Josh Allen and the Bills offense struggled for the most part.
Let's hear from Josh Allen on the Bills' struggles, even though they managed to get the victory last night at home.
Just really wasn't getting into a rhythm. That's pass and run game included. We got to find ways to get off to a fast start, and I don't think we've done that the last few last few games. So, at the end of the day, it's a win. It's an ugly one. We'll take it. But there's a lot of things that we got to learn from and get better at. They played a really good game defensively, and let's throw records out the door. It's the National Football League. Those guys get paid to play as well, and they did a good job today. And we made one more play than they did on defense. I can't thank our defense enough for helping us out there, but we can't put our defense in those types of situations, game in, game out. We got to be better.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to work out on a regular basis. You're going to win one, you're going to lose one if you let it come down to that every single week. Right. But to get a win on a night when the offense was that off, all that matters is
that's right.
You check the win and you improve, you keep pace with Miami, and you keep moving forward.
Yeah.
So, and that's the best kind of win. You got plenty of stuff you can learn from. You got plenty of things you can feel bad about. You're not going to get too far ahead of yourself thinking, hey, we're great now. You still think we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And they had that 3-week stretch where they looked like they were becoming dominant, and now for the last 2 weeks, they've looked the opposite of it, and they escaped last night with a win.
Yeah, some injuries on the defense certainly have affected them there, right? They're banged up at corner. They're banged up at the D-line. They're missing their best player in the middle at linebacker and Matt Milano. So they got some things to adjust to and overcome. Daquan Jones wasn't in there. I mean, they're a banged up football team. I guess where I was disappointed is I was expecting a bounce back. Like, hey, we got dominated over in London. We need to come back and put our best foot forward and remind everybody who we are. Now, before I overjudge that, I do want to say, like, yeah, it's also, hey, the Giants are coming to down. We're better than them. It's also, you're playing a coach in Dayball who's got a pretty good feel for what your defense likes to do, right? And then I think you go back to Wink Martindale and what they do on the defensive side of the ball, and I think they're one of the most creative defenses in the game. They're a handful there, and they knew and had a plan to stop Josh Allen, and obviously had a good feel for everything else they did to where they were comfortable in that football game, and they outplayed Buffalo last night. They outplayed Buffalo. Josh Allen's 1 or 2 plays and the defense making this goal line stand at the end helped them win the football game. But to outgain the Buffalo by 20 yards, to have better on third down than they were. Only 2 less first downs overall, controlled the clock, right? All of those things, they all went in the Giants' favor. They just, couldn't pull through in the big moment.
One of the talking points in the immediate aftermath of the game, boy, the Giants would have only needed a field goal to win if they had managed to get just a field goal out of the drive at the end of the first half. Now, look, it's impossible to know how the second half would have unfolded with those extra 3.
That was a horrible moment.
But it was a horrible moment.
Yeah.
And I look at the official description in the game book, and it just defies common sense. It defies logic. You're snapping the ball, 1st and goal from the 1, with 14 seconds left.
No
timeouts. They run it. It's stopped.
Yep.
Tick, tick, tick. There's 9. There's 8, and everybody's kind of standing around. And
Tyrod didn't realize there was no timeouts. You could see that first off. He's sitting there, standing there, and then somebody gets in his ear.
Next thing you know, that's it.
And says, "Hey, dude, we got no timeouts. We got to clock." Look, so. He goes, that's not what we want. That's what Brian Daboll says. And my experience here would say this, Mike. This is what I would say. I think that they had a play called. They had a baked-in check all week, right? When they got down inside the 5-yard line. Like when they played this defense, we want to run this play because we like it, right? So they call a play that I think was a pass. I mean, I hope so, right? They call a pass. They get the defense that they've been talked about all week. Hey, if they get that, let's check to that run. But that's where the quarterback's got to realize, wait, I can't do that in this moment.
Yep.
Now, the coach needs to also get in his ear and go, hey, that check that goes with that play, that's dead. We got to run the play that I call here. That, to me, is what it looks like happened in some capacity. Whether there was 2 plays called in the huddle, that's a more glaring mistake on the coaches. Or if it was 1 play called and then Tyrod Taylor went to the check, then that's on both of them because they should have reminded him, and Tyrod Taylor should know better too. But either way, that was a big moment, like you said, because they could have kicked a field goal if the game unfolded the way it did. You never know, like you said, but still, to leave that on the table there at the end of the half was disappointing.
Mike Tirico was not bashful about calling that moment awful in real time.
It was awful.
Awful. Here is both head coach Brian Daboll and backup quarterback turned starter last night, Tyrod Taylor, on what happened on that last play of the first half.
Had a play called. It was a run action pass play, and ended up alerting it to a run. Didn't get it off. Yeah, there was communication. Yep.
Why did it happen?
He saw a look based on the play that we had, and he ended up alerting it.
Ended up what?
Ended up alerting it to a run.
It was a decision. Looking back on it, definitely shouldn't have made. Alerted to a run. Thought I seen a look that was beneficial for us, and it wasn't the right call. And that falls on me as a quarterback, as a leader, as the one that's communicating everything to everyone. Got to be better in that situation.
Did you think you would have time to spike it when it did, or you were?
Yeah, I did. But yeah, ultimately should have just left the play on. Shouldn't have alerted it.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think he realized they didn't have any timeout.
I don't think he did at the time. No.
Based upon the way everybody reacted after that play ended.
No.
Because you got to know 14 seconds. If this play doesn't work, we got to line up and spike it. And they could do it. They could have done it. That's what's weird about it. It's not like you got to run everybody 10 yards.
No.
You're right there. You're at the
14
one.
seconds
If
is
you
the
don't
cusp,
score,
but you're right.
yeah, if you don't score, you got enough time to line everybody
get up,
and
everybody
spike
up,
it.
boom.
Yeah.
We know we got to spike it, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, here, a great job in the back, Courtney and Kristen, because here you go. Once again, they're going to show it, right? And I think how I explained it was probably what happened, that there was a baked-in check and an alert that they talked about all week. But yeah, Tyrod Taylor was totally unaware at that moment. We had one receiver who realized it and was like, let's go. The Bills did a good job of being slow, getting off the ball carrier and wasting some time there. Tyrod Taylor, I want to say this, he played very good last night, okay? He is being a total pro there and saying it was on him, all right? But anybody knows that's been in the NFL, you've been a quarterback, you've been anything there, that's more on the coaches. I'm sorry. It's not Tyrod Taylor's job to manage the football game. He just plays quarterback. And what he was taught all week when that situation arises to play quarterback was to do that. Yeah, you'd like him not to. He's been around for a long time. But I know whether I worked in New England or, played on a team that just won the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay or with Kerry Collins in Tennessee and all that the coach got in their ear in that kind of moment, right? Where John Gruden, hey, no, Brad Johnson, I know you won the Super Bowl and we got a great defense here, but you got to just run this play. We can't run it. We can't go to the check run here, right? And that, to me, is where the coaches got to be in the ear of Tyrod Taylor before the play to make sure that's clear. We got to throw the ball here. You can't check to the run or do anything here. It's throw the ball, and let's see where it goes from there. And, of course, they dropped the ball in a big moment, and kind of unfortunate. Very.
I noticed this tweet from our friend Greg Rosenthal right after it happened. He tweeted this: Daboll loves to let everyone know when it's not his fault. Because when you look at the body language and the reaction.
And what we saw with the tablet with Daniel Jones a few weeks ago and some of that.
Right. But hey, we both are Brian Daboll fans.
Yes.
Sometimes it is your fault.
Yes.
Ultimately, you're in charge.
You're the head coach,
You're
right?
in charge.
Yeah.
You needed to make sure your guy understood in that moment. We're not going to run the ball, and if we are, we're getting our asses up to the line of scrimmage and getting the ball spiked.
Yeah, well, this is another reason that, I don't know how much it is right now. I know Kafka calls.
That all could have waited for the locker room. What we're seeing right now, that all could have waited for the locker room.
Yeah.
Now, and maybe he's just too emotional to control himself, but it does, to the rest of us watching, say Daboll's putting the blame on Tyrod Taylor for that moment.
He's an emotional guy, and he's fiery. It's fair to look at it that way, and that's where, I'll get back to kind of what I said about Brian Daboll last week. I have so much respect for him as a play caller and a play designer. He should be the one that's in the ear of the quarterback all the time. He was hired because of his offensive prowess and brain power and what he does there. As a Giant fan, I want Brian Daboll calling the plays all the time. It's not a disrespect to Mike Kafka. I know that he's a really good football coach and does a lot of good things. But the reason Daboll was there was because of his ability to call the play and build game plans and what he did in Buffalo with Josh Allen. I still would like him to do that. And then there's a moment where I don't think he was the one talking to the quarterback before that play, right? And that's where, that goes back on the head coach. But it's 14 seconds, first and goal on the 1, and if they throw the ball, they legitimately should have 3 shots to throw the ball into the end zone, let alone they should have come away with a field goal. So who knows? 3 points were missed, but what about the other 4 that might have been missed on the touchdown on top of that? So that's where it stinks for the Giants, and Buffalo escaped by the skin of their teeth there.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.